Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album by Squeeze. It is their album Babylon and On. So yes, the reason why I wanted to do this review was because I've been recently reading Chris Difford's excellent autobiography, and I've also in the past week received some lovely VCLT of Squeeze singles from James Griffiths. So I felt compelled to review a Squeeze album, and this is the one which I have chosen. So this was the band's 7th album, released on the 15th of September in 1987. It was the second of their sort of comeback albums following their first breakup in 1982. The previous effort, which was called Cozy Fan Tutti Frutti, the band later admitted was rather overproduced, and they found that their live renditions of the songs from the album were superior to the recorded versions. They were just a bit raw, or a little bit more powerful performances off the tracks. So for this album, they decided to return to playing live in the studio, a more a back to basics approach. It was produced by a guy called Eric Thorngren, who had recently worked with the Talking Heads on their commercial blockbuster album Little Creatures. The record was pretty successful by Squeeze standards, reaching number 14 in the UK and number 36 in America, the highest charting album, and it done a good job of giving them some much needed success later on into their career. So I will try to show you my vinyl copy of it here. Pretty easy to get vinyl. This one here is quite a common album, this. There's the cover there. Not crazy about the cover, I have to say. And there's the back of it there, just with all the band members, Chris Difford, Glenn Tilbrook, Jules Holland's also on this record as well as the other members there. And then you've got the lyrics on the inside here. And it's just on the usual A&M records for Squeeze here. I believe this would be, I think their second to last album with A&M before they were eventually dropped. So yeah, that's the vinyl record looked at. Okay, so and I go over each of the album songs. I will score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. So it kicks off with the song Hourglass, which is probably the best track on the album. I would say it's definitely the most well-known song on the album. It's just got a great melody, solid lyrics to it, just a really playful, fun track, with a tongue twister chorus. It is one of Squeeze's biggest hits, possibly due to its really creative music video, yeah, it was a pretty successful single for them, reaching number 15 in America and number 16 on the UK singles chart. So yeah, Hourglass, really great song, a great way to kick off the album. And then the next one up keeps the momentum going, and it's called Footprints. And I really like this track. I really like the arrangement on it. I think it's really interesting, how it evolves throughout the track. It starts off this is quite heavy, weird. It's quite drum heavy introduction, but then it moves into a more softer track on the verse before picking up again with the chorus. Lyrically, it's just about the changing of the seasons, and I think Glenn Tilbrook sings it really well. I've always thought he has a really nice ear-pleasing voice, suitable for pop songs like this. Maybe the song has dated a little bit production-wise, like a lot of the album has, but overall I do think it is one of the best tracks on here. So yeah, Footprints would get a 9 out of 10. She knows that tough love is needed to save the love. Next song up is called Tough Love, and this is a kind of accordion-based waltz, this song here. It features the trademark double octave vocals of Difford and Tilbrook. Lyrically, about a fractured relationship, where the husband has become addicted to drugs and alcohol, and requires tough love. I've read online that it is actually about their drummer Gilson Lavis's struggles with alcohol. I mean, the actual track itself is quite forgettable. It is quite good in the lyric department. Just musically, isn't very memorable at all. So yeah, Tough Love will get a 6 out of 10 for me. Next up is called The Prisoner, and this is a more sort of upbeat rocking track. It's got kind of like a bluesy, like rockabilly feeling to it, but with very sort of slick and very clean production, like lots of like synthetic brass like on it. It does somewhat like dilute the track. I think a bit more beefier guitar sound on it would have certainly improved the song. Again, it is pleasing enough like while it's on. Just a very forgettable song though overall. So yeah, I would give that one a 7 out of 10. And then the next one up is called 8535937, which is a song basically about sort of like making like a telephone call, like sort of like calling like someone back. I mean, it is kind of basic lyrically, I have to say, and like a bit bland musically as well. It's very sort of like commercially sort of like driven, like 80s pop, like this song here, like kind of like written to be like a hit single. Like it was also like uniquely written face to face, like by Difford and Tilbrook, because it would usually like write apart, like Difford like would like come up like with his lyrics and like then like give those to Difford to write the tunes to, like whoever, like with this song, however with this song they actually wrote it together, which I don't think quite works out for them too well, considering that this song like isn't one of Squeeze's best tracks. It was though a single, and it actually did quite well for them. It reached number 32 on the US charts, but they were capable of so much more than this, like I have to say. So yeah, like just an average song there. Like we'll get a 6 out of 10, not bad, but just not particularly good either. And then side one closes with a song called In Today's Room, which is a kind of low-key, funky number. This one here, like, reminds me a little bit like off the Talking Heads album, like Little Creatures, like which is like sort of like weird, which isn't really surprising considering that this was produced by the same guy. But yeah, like it's sort of like it doesn't really do much for me. Like this song again, it's like it's got solid backing vocals on it. Lyrically, it's just a bit average. Yeah, just overall a pretty mediocre song, I have to say. Side 2 opens up rather promisingly though with a song called Trust Me to Open My Mouth, which I do rather like. I think it is a solid rocking song, lyrically about someone who can't resist like sort of like spreading rumours and like sharing secrets. Again, it's a pretty catchy track, but it just for me lacks a magic touch which made their late 70s and early 80s singles so special. This was also a single and it peaked at number 72 in the UK. So yeah, like a good song there though, I have to say. Certainly one of like the more memorable and like more catchy numbers on the album. Next up is the sole Chris Difford lead vocal performance on the album, and I actually really rate this song. It's called Striking Matches, and yeah, I think Difford does a brilliant job of singing this track here. I think it's got a really good sort of like rolling melody and a really nice playful arrangement to it. Personally, I could do without the sort of rather fussy backing vocals on it, but it is a nice change of vocalist, because at this point we are kind of getting a little bit sick of like Tilbrook's voice. So it is nice to get like the alternative, like the alternate vocal, like on this one here, like with like Difford singing it. So yeah, like overall a really good track there. We'll give that one an 8 out of 10. What you got to go home to? Okay, and then the next number up is called Cigarette of a Single Man, which for me is another kind of bland sort of fillery track on the album. I've got that lyrically is kind of self-deprecating about the sort of sorrows of like a single man, like sort of like smoking his life away. Again, it's got a good piano solo on it from Jules Holland. However, it does really share the same sort of beat and same sort of production vibe like as most of the album, which means that songs like this really do fail to stand out and make an impression. So yeah, we'll give that one a 5 out of 10. Really not a favourite track of mine, I have to say. Okay, and then the next one up is called Who Are You, which is another upbeat song. No, this is not a cover like off like the Who song, I mean, but it is a half decent track, and like it is kind of like what we have come to expect like from the album. It's pretty short, like kind of like over quickly, like sort of like less than 4 minutes like this song here. So it does its job really kind of as album filler. So yeah, like Who Are You? Yeah, just an alright song there. We'll give that one a 6 out of 10. The penultimate song is called The Waiting Game, which is a much needed slower ballad, and again it is a bit generic, like sort of like sounding like this song here, but it is a good change of pace. This was the third single issued from the album, and it did fail to chart, but that is kind of like understandable because it really isn't the most sort of like commercial sounding song. But yeah, like it isn't a bad song there though. Yeah, The Waiting Game would get a 7 out of 10. And then we close the album with a slightly more political song called Some Americans, which was inspired by a 1986 bombing of Libya by the American armed forces, and it features a rather sort of like wacky arrangement on it with what sounds like a sitar solo, quite sort of like creatively arranged this song here. A pretty strong closer, I have to say. So yeah, that one would get an 8 out of 10 and like does somewhat redeem the album. So yeah, overall this album would score 71%. So I do think this is a half decent but slightly bland collection of songs. It is rather forgettable, like overall this album. I mean, there's nothing terrible like on here, like there's no like real clunkers like that they were on like maybe like Sweets from a Stranger, like that album that did have a few bad songs on it. This album doesn't have any real bad songs on it. It just lacks many highlights, like sort of like which like most other Squeeze albums do have. What shows though that they maybe slightly struggled with this record though was that Difford said that they wrote around like 30 to 35 songs like around this time and like simply selected the best 12 for the album. But if this is the best 12 they had, like I wouldn't really like to hear like the other like 15 or so like which they had, because really like sort of like the quality like on here like is like slightly patchy, I have to say. Certainly like their writing like at this time seemed to be a case of quantity like over quality, but you know they could still like sort of like pull together and like come up like with some real classics such as Hourglass and Footprints and Some Americans. Like it is like a good song, like a good like solid lyric there like from Difford. It just to me seems like they were very much trying hard to have a commercial success like album, like which they definitely did achieve with this album here. Like was a successful album by Squeeze standards. I just think like when viewed compared to some of their previous work and like also some of like their albums afterwards as well like the more recent work, this one does like slightly falter like in comparison. But yeah, that's been my review of Squeeze's Babylon add-on. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I'd be interested to know what you think of this album down below in the comments, and I will see you all next time for the next review. Goodbye. Leader of